Welcome everybody. I'll call the Wednesday, October 27th, 2021 Nottingham Planning Board meeting to order. Before we get going with introductions, I think everybody signed in, but if you haven't, just please sign in at the desk over there so we can account for attendance tonight. And we'll start on my right to introduce
Robert Davies, alternate.
Gary Anderson.
Edward Veal.
Susan Mooney.
Ian McKinnon.
Charlene Anderson.
And Mr. Davies will be seated and voting tonight for Mr. Grotenice. And just for official count, we do not have the an ex officio rep tonight, so any votes will be count 6.
You want to remind people to sign in?
I did. Got that right?
These 2 people just came in.
Oh, please sign in if you can, if you didn't. So we'll take the cases in order as they are on the agenda for tonight. The first one was continued case number 21-011-SIT. Application from Richard Cody requesting site plan approval for a change of use for a property located on Cooper Hill Road. We did receive a letter from the applicant or applicant's representative requesting to be continued to the next case, the next agenda that they're working on finalizing some plan revisions, I believe is how it was worded. So our next case would be November 10. Is that correct? We didn't change the date on that one. So our next agenda is November 10th. Right now, it looks like we don't have too much on that already. So if anybody would like to make a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we continue case 21-011 SIT to November 10th at 7 p.m.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right, next item on the agenda is case 21-013-SUV, application from James Lavelle Associates requesting a subdivision approval to subdivide 29.5 acres into 2 lots that will both have frontage on Jabig Road. Property is located at 22 Jabig Road in Nottingham, New Hampshire, and identified as map 18, lot 4-B. So if we have anybody for the applicant, come on up, please. And one thing I forgot to say, during tonight's case hearings, if there's any public hearing or any other times, just when you come up to the desk, please identify yourself for the record.
Mr. Chair, I have some revised plans. We noticed some spelling, Scrivener's errors on them. With your permission, I'll pass them out to the members.
Sure, please, yep.
Thank you.
You. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I do have full-size copies. Good evening. For the record, I'm Tim Lavelle from James Lavelle Associates. Sorry. We are here proposing to subdivide a 29.51 acre lot into 2 lots. One will be 15 acres and the other 14 and a half. The 14 and a half lot, the home would be on that lot, and there is a barn on the property that would be on the other lot. In 1976, there was a 2-acre lot created in which the house was built on. In 1986, they bought the additional 23 somewhat acres to make the 29 and a half acre parcel. And now they just want to split it into 2. It's fairly simple. We dug test pits on both lots, make sure we weren't leaving one of the lots high and dry as far as septic areas go. It's also kind of boilerplate for us to do that. For state subdivision, in this case, the lots are much larger than the need for state subdivision, but it's just kind of the process we go through. That's it in a nutshell. Not much to it.
Thanks. Now I'll bring it to staff for their review of the application. So first thing we'll do after staff review is act on application completeness, and then we can get more into the application itself.
Yeah, as the gentleman was saying, and I have to agree, this doesn't appear to be that complex of a request. They have large existing lots, but they're splitting essentially down the middle, 14 and a half, 15 and a half acres, to create two. There is a request. There's a few waiver requests. One, most pertinent is the third one about topography and contours. They're showing it up on frontage, not through the whole length of the back of the parcel. But other than that, it does appear to be fairly straightforward. There was discussion about showing the consideration about showing the abutting landowner names and address on the request. It was in their checklist. It wasn't in the waiver request. I kind of pulled it out there and put it in here. I mentioned it in the checklist, so I just pulled it forward. So I would suggest making, if you do approve the waiver request, making it for all three of these. What they did ask for was only the topographic contours, but I can see it. So I'm fully forward in here. So just in case you didn't see it and you're wondering why I put it in the memo, that would be why.
Okay.
But like I said, beyond that, that's where we're at.
Great. All right, thank you.
And it does, with regards to the completeness, it does appear to be complete and have everything necessary for an application to be before the board.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, move to accept the application for case number 21-013-SUB.
Second?
We have a motion by Mr. Anderson, a second by Mr. Mooney. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries 6-0. All right, thank you. That's the biggest formality. Before we go further, so we don't forget about it, with every case and every application, best practice is that we take a vote regarding if it's a development of regional impact. We should be doing this for every case, so would anybody like to make a motion regarding that?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that case number 21-013-SUB is not a project of regional impact.
I'll second that.
That's a motion by Mr. McKinnon, second by Ms. Anderson. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, 6-0. All right, thank you. That's a kind of a formality in most cases, but, all right, and I'll bring it back to Mr. Lavelle. Did you have anything else that you wanted to bring?
No, actually, I forgot all about the waiver request. As far as the topography goes, we did do a full topography on about the front 5 acres of this, which kind of proves the 2 lots. And to have the Woodmans, pay the expense of doing the rest, we felt was information you didn't need and they didn't need to pay for. So that's why we asked for the request.
Okay. And then just the staff, or is there anything else that, in addition to your prior comments that?
Yeah, as I said, there was a couple that in the checklist they wrote in the waiver, and so I pulled it into the staff report. I just think you should capture it if it's something that you're okay with. 8.3.1, abutting landowner names, address and zoning. Currently, the plan shows only map and lot. And then 8.2.5, survey property lines for proposed lots. Those lots are shown to the extent necessary for the building envelope and utilities, something with water. So it appears that it's meeting that, but the word waiver was written in there. I didn't really know.
No, it should have been just checked. We surveyed the whole thing.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yep.
But as I said, it was written in the checklist, so I just didn't want to miss it. If it was in fact a waiver request, so I thought I would bring it up, we can talk about it. If it's there, it's there. It looks like it's there. I thought it was a little weird.
You're absolutely right, it's there.
So it doesn't seem like we need to throw that, include that one, because it does appear that the property lines are there. In the survey, and they've been surveyed, not just. And it will be a stamped plan by a land surveyor. So you're covered there. As I say, it was in the checklist.
Yep.
So beyond that, I didn't have any problems. The two proposed lots meet zoning. They have sufficient frontage, have sufficient area for the minimal dimensional standards for lots in the residential agricultural zoning district. And I just made note that there is a utility easement shown on the existing, the lot area that is essentially for the existing house. I'm just making note of it, not really pointing that out for any action, just getting clarity.
Okay.
And as far as that goes, fortunately, we're not running a new lot line through it, so the easement stays on along one parcel. And that's a power line that kind of cuts through and doesn't follow the roadway after.
Would you mind confirming, so it appears to be there are setbacks currently that are shown is the dash line and the double dotted dash line. Can you confirm what those are?
That's the building setbacks, and then it's a septic setback.
Okay. Because it looks like, based on the scale, that maybe you're going with a 100-foot setback. And that's what I'm trying to confirm, is what that distance is.
It looks like 50. The new lot 4D is 200 feet of frontage, so if you look at like kind of.
Yeah, but the scale is, maybe the scale is wrong?
You mean the front setback?
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
No,
The plan itself.
the plan itself, like,
Oh,
so,
I think you're absolutely right.
I think your overall one is the 100 scale, and then I
Yes,
think
no, you're absolutely right, it should be 50 scale.
yeah, the two will be 50.
but as drawn, the snap lines here, the dash line is what, 20, and then the double dot and dash is 50?
Yes.
And then, you know what so we've got the whole lot dimensions and size. Normally they'll be shown the contiguous area, the amount of actual uplands. Is that,
We don't have that other than the front half again. We felt we didn't need to have that half.
yeah, it's
That's
not,
information that could certainly be added to the plan as a condition, showing it as a. We topoed and surveyed and know that there isn't any wetlands for about the front 6 acres of it. Other than that, we didn't map any wetlands or anything.
The property's not in any, is not in the wetland overlay district, or up in the FEMA flood zone.
There's definitely wetlands way out in the
Way out
back.
back.
Back, yeah.
Yeah.
How far are you from the North River on Jabig?
Far are we from the North River?
Because it goes right through Jabig.
Across the street.
yeah, you're on the
Oh,
other.
I'm on the wrong side of the street?
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
Was trying to figure out that. 'Cause that's,
That makes a difference.
yeah,
It'd be across the road and down quite a bit.
would be up and over the hill for anything to drain from.
Thank you.
I'll bring it to the board for,
I had a couple comments, but one of them builds off of your contiguous area. I was gonna see if there was a possibility of putting that on, because I was looking at the I guess what we would call the new lot where the barn is.
Yep,
It looks like they're, I guess it's hard at this scale to see, but I'm looking at the contours in the back, and I don't know if those will qualify as steep slopes, which would then be a break in the contiguous area. So, I mean, it might be 30 if you pull within those setbacks around the barn and stuff, that might be the 30K, but I think it kind of goes to what Ed point is, if we can just see what that area is and.
absolutely could. You know that it makes it, there is, I think if you look at your slope, there's kind of a bump,
Yep.
but contiguous continues around it, so.
But I think the issue, we have to take it within the building setbacks, so it's,
You get that impingement area too.
yeah, you get that impingement area. So just look at that contiguous area
Absolutely.
from the regs. I had a question about the utility easement. I assume it's part of one of the deed references at some point. Ed made reference to the setbacks. I think it might be worthwhile even just on each lot, just to throw what each one of those
The
is.
dimension to.
Just 50-foot building, 20-foot septic
That's it.
disposal.
Like a legend, yeah.
Yeah, you can do it via legend or label the plan. Then,
Actually, which way would the board prefer, kind of a list on the front sheet or dimensions?
in this case, I think
Inside?
because this is just a subdivision lot, I like to see it right on the plan, just because if a homeowner looks at it, they can see this line is 50-foot setback.
Okay.
Probably easier to label it right on the plan
I mean,
itself.
We could do it both.
Yeah.
You
And
put a
then-
list of what they are on the front and then dimension them.
If you want to do both, I think at a minimum on the plan is always nice to see it, just right there where everybody's looking.
That's something I don't always hear. The minimum on the.
Yeah, and then as part of the notes, does it reference the zone? So usually we'll have like a little dimensional requirements or zoning table as part of the notes, just to say it's the residential agricultural zone, minimum of 2 acres, just the basics, basically from like, I think it's the first 5 or 6 bullet points in the zoning, just labeling the different setbacks. So somebody isn't at it's kind of stated as part of the plan. I know Blair made mention of one of the waivers that might be required is the abutting landowner names. I don't feel strongly either way. I usually like to see them on a plan, but keeps the plan
Honestly,
simpler.
I have
But
revisions to make, we'll just have to.
yeah, I mean, I think if we already have the list, the abutters list, it's kind of nice sometimes to see it. And the next two were, the last two were, I think, subdivision standards that, first is monuments. I think we have a requirement for monuments every 300 feet. Especially on a site like this that has a lot of topography and is wooded. I think we do have, that's Article 11.8. Requires monuments at a minimum every 300 feet. Currently, there's only one along what is almost,
It's 1,100 feet,
yeah. So there's 1,100 feet, and then the back piece is another
808.
800, so it's almost 2,000 feet with one bound, the whole length. So that would require a waiver unless you set additional monuments.
No, we would set them, we haven't set any monuments yet.
Okay, so just maybe,
All,
okay,
in case, because if Murphy gets involved in this all the time, if I set them.
the move.
You're gonna wanna move something a half a foot, which isn't an arguable thing.
Yeah,
So I don't set them.
okay, got it. Yeah, I have no issues with the lot line, just wanna make sure we hit the 300-foot requirements, there's no waiver required. And then, my last comment was, in 2 different places in the subdivision regulations, that test pits are required in the 4K areas. I see you have the 4K areas in there and they meet the setbacks, but there's no test pits?
Test pits are shown on sheet 3 in the 4K areas.
Is that what that box is?
That's
Yeah.
the receiving area, I assume.
Yeah.
Was it, yeah, it reads 2 test pits with, was it no less than 50 feet apart? Is that what, I think that's the language?
At least 50 feet. Yeah.
2 test pits, 50 feet apart. So it looks like, I didn't know that's what that box was, so,
Yeah. I thought the data was part of the package.
Are there 2 test pits within that?
No, there's only one in each 4K area. We missed that.
So that would either just be I guess you'd have to propose a waiver for that, or just dig additional test pits, but, that was all that I had. Other than that, I like the big lots, so I'm always a fan of that.
One thing we usually like to see on a plan too is a proposed driveway, so we can get an idea of like where the access is gonna be. A lot of times, we try to match those up to the other side of the road whenever possible. Which it would look like might be a little tough with,
Actually, there's an existing entrance towards that barn. We can show that right on the plan.
okay, that'd be great.
There's a break in the wall and a little driveway there already.
It doesn't show that on the drawing, though.
It doesn't show it. I would have to add that.
I think the only thing that I have is, on the maps, it shows map 18, lot 8, but in the abutters list, I don't know if it's a typo, so you might want to double check it. There's no lot, map 18-8, there is a, listed on the abutters list, there's a map 19-8, so I don't know if either on the plan it's a typo, or if it's on the abutters list, that might be a typo.
I will check that.
And actually on the plan, map, the lot with the barn on it, I think the one got dropped. It shows as map 8, it's like a map 18. I think it's on two of the 3.
It shows it as map 8 instead of 18.
Yeah, on sheet 2.
Sheet 2 and,
And
3.
And 3.
so on that, I think there was a point made by the staff about, so we have our requirements, but then there's also the state requirements for the Mylar that's gonna get submitted, so you have to make sure that the minimum amount of information it meets the standards of the state too for submittal. Normally we like to see abutter names with the maps. I don't know if that was one of the items that was in the waiver.
I think we're gonna add that as
We're
part
just
of
gonna
the-
add them right in.
Okay.
Don't know that the registry of deeds cares about that. In fact, I can say, never bothered us about it.
They
but
will record it without, but yeah.
We just, we'll make revisions anyways, it won't take long, we'll just pop them on there.
Okay.
And now we're gonna check the numbers anyways, so.
So is there any other board comment at this point? If not, I'll open the public hearing. Or public testimony portion of the public hearing. No? Okay. So at this point, we'll open the public testimony portion of the public hearing. So this is a time for, we usually have anybody that's speaking in favor of the application speak first, anybody opposed next, or anybody that's kind of just either way, but has some questions maybe. But please, if you do have questions, come up to the table and then direct your comments this way, not to the applicant.
Anybody?
Yeah, you can come on up. And
I'll
Mr.
get out
Lau,
of the way.
if you wouldn't mind stepping up back for a second. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Do you want me to sit, stand?
Sit straight just because the mics don't pick up very well.
I'm Allie Gard. My husband Dave and I actually live at 21 Jabig across the street. I just have more clarifying questions, if that's a possibility, if I'm allowed to ask that. First off, we would like to understand what the proposed use is. I'm assuming it's obviously to build another house, sell it off. We're just trying to get an idea of what the actual purpose is. Secondly, if there are any restrictions in place for single family versus a multi-family unit. And also any restrictions to subdivide further in the future. We're just about maintaining the integrity of our road, so we just want to make sure we're protecting a certain country feel to it.
Great. Well, so I think we'll just take those and we'll kind of address them all at once, if that's okay.
Okay, do I need to stay here? Or, oh, okay.
Is there any other question or comment? Come on up.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Lori Mathens. We live at 303 Stage Road, And I guess we would be the other way from this property. I don't even know if we're talking about the same one. I'm a little confused. But that was kind of ours too, because if it is, we have 13 acres that would probably back up to this property, if I have the right property.
I think they're involved.
See if I have a
Am
tax map for
Yeah,
you.
I'm not sure.
This is midway down Jabig.
Oh, okay, so I'm talking about the wrong property.
Yeah, you might be talking about the next case.
Oh, okay.
This is where we are.
Color coded.
That's the town's tax map.
Okay, thank you.
Very fancy.
Yeah. All right, well, I'll see you in a
Go, I'm
minute.
gonna go back up the next one. Is there any further public question or comment? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. So to respond to some of those questions, I guess I'll let Mr. Lavelle answer those to us if you can. Do you want me to repeat what they were?
No, I've got them. Couple of questions. What is the intended use? Intended use is to sell it and have someone purchase it and buy it for whatever uses are allowed. Single-family dwelling, if a duplex is allowed there. I wouldn't be comfortable saying we wouldn't do a duplex, and no, we wouldn't want it restricted. As far as any further subdivision, we would definitely not agree to that. I don't even think that's legal to do anyways. Very steep as you further go back, and as I said, there's some wetlands in the back. I couldn't imagine someone developing it further, because it's an awful lot of road to gain, not a lot of lots. In today's economy, I think the road would cost more than you could sell the lots for, so I think the property itself kind of lends to no further subdivision. So that's it. I don't know, and I didn't look, if duplexes are allowed in the zone.
Yeah, so
Technically are, yeah.
duplex multifamily are allowed in pretty much all zones except for commercial industrial, and then which is the Route 4 corridor. They do have additional standards to them though, so like contiguous area for a duplex is 120,000 square feet of contiguous
Right.
uplands instead of 30,000 feet.
Do they have an additional frontage requirement?
No multifamily does beyond that, where you get to like
So
300
we
feet.
have just the minimum frontage for a single-family lot, so.
Correct, and then if it was a change in use to, say, any kind of commercial exposure, like a commercial, industrial, that's not allowed in the zone, it'd have to go to zoning, it'd have to come before the planning board for a site plan, and then go to zoning for a variance.
Yeah, I don't think we would ourselves want any commercial industrial, we just want the, essentially, they had two lots at one point in time, one of them was a little over 2 acres, now they just want two big lots.
And then separate part is, in our regulations, once any subdivision occurs, there's a basically a hold on a further subdivision for 4 years. So a property can't be re-subdivided for a period of 4 years. Lot line adjustments can occur, but not a subdivision.
It wouldn't be an easy thing to do anyways. Certainly not our intention.
Yep. Was there any other questions or items from the board? If not, we can, I think it'd be appropriate to address the waiver request.
You want to address the one that was submitted for the topography, that one?
Yep.
Essentially, if we can throw out from your list the 8.3.1, right? Because the butters, we're gonna put that on the
Yeah,
plan,
just
so we're
gonna
good
put it
there.
on the plan.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I'm of the impression that 8.3.5 is satisfied,
Yeah, I
so
think so.
with what I've identified, it would just be 8.3.6. However, it does sound good. You brought up a couple.
Yeah, I guess based on what we have right now, I think this is one that we know for a fact. I mean, there's only limited topography on the plan, so I think this is the only one we could act on at the moment.
Yeah, and the other was the test pit.
Test pit and monument?
Test pit and monument links, but it sounds like, he'll
Would
add
not-
those because he
Would
hasn't
not
set
want
the.
the waiver to the monuments.
Yeah.
We intend on.
It sounds like that'll be a modification, so, do you think your intent is to do an additional test pit in each 4K area to satisfy that requirement?
Rather not.
I don't even know if we can waive that.
I don't know, yeah, I guess that,
It's 18.2, I was trying to see if we have,
it's in two locations, it's 18.2 and 8.4, 3. See if it's somewhere. I think technically, I guess anything's waiverable if it's not in the zoning ordinance, but, I guess, do you know, I didn't see the test pit information in the package, what,
Yeah, I was looking for it in mine and didn't see
Were they,
it either.
I guess it's hard to make a judgment on anything test pit related without knowing about the soil profiles.
It was typical.
Okay.
Like 3-foot water table. I think we actually had water coming in on one down around 5 feet.
we give ourselves,
This year is common.
in the subdivision regs, we grant ourselves authority to provide waivers for certain sections, like we have specific language in 8.5, waiver specific plan requirements, and it tells us what we're authorized to waive, and that's sections 8.3 and 8.4.
Which is what that falls into technically, yeah.
That's 18 point something, but
I guess in my mind too, I mean, ultimately, he can show the test pits on it, but we don't review the lots based on the test pits when ultimately he has to file a, septic design plan anyway and get it approved from the state and the code enforcement.
Yeah, and if you notice on the lot with the house, we did the test pit way away from where the existing septic is, just because we didn't want to make a mess in the yard.
Yep.
And there's plenty of area to move it down there.
Yeah, it looks like you have plenty of space around the well radiuses too, so if that 4K did have to shift for some reason. Well, why don't we, do you want to tackle the existing waiver, the topography waiver first?
Yep.
I think for what we have in front of us, it's an appropriate waiver, seeing as how large the lot is, so. What's that number again? Oh, 8.3.
yeah, and in general, in the past, that's what we've done for other large lots, with the assumption that this is gonna be the buildable area, most likely
Correct,
where a building will
yep.
be placed, additional building.
So at this time, I'll make a motion to approve the waiver request for section 8.3.6 for existing grades and topography. For case number, Jesus, I'm losing everything. 21-013-SUB.
Second.
So we have a motion from Mr. McKinnon, a second by Mr. Davies. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries 6-0. Okay, so that's that. And so that gets us back to the, where else are we at with the plans?
Test
and
pit.
The test pit, and I'm trying to,
Test pit contiguous area.
We can add the contiguous area, wouldn't want a waiver to that.
Right, I guess it's hard to, we technically can't approve a plan unless we know that there's the contiguous area up on the, up in the front area.
right,
I'm a little nervous with the contours there, if those will qualify as steep slopes, which is a breaking contiguous area. And Ed, you made mention of the width, correct? I'm trying to remember what section that's, it's lot layout, right?
I think it's in zoning. Or less. So it's the definition of lot envelope, in zoning and in subdivision regs, so within that 30,000 square foot contiguous area, it's to not create an ROS effect of less than 50 feet at the narrowest point. So that might be where your back line gets drawn for the contiguous area for measurement. is if this area is, less than 50 feet in width, that neck, kinda, I think I'll call it.
Yeah, it looks like you're back at like the,
So these are big lots too, so it's hard to,
Yeah, it's
try to
hard to get
remember
the
that on a
scale.
plan, that the scale is kinda, much larger than it seems, so you might have that 30,000 square feet just in that front section, and be satisfied there.
do we know the dimensions of that existing barn?
I don't, but I'm trying to figure quickly the area, and that's the 30,000 square feet has to be within the building setbacks, correct?
Building setbacks plus that 50-foot pinch point, which probably brings you back to that 196
Well, I'm thinking
contour.
that the 30,000 square feet is probably in front of the pinch point,
Yeah.
184.
I think it's just a little bit of cleanup.
But we can show that, I mean, I guess we could,
And the,
continue to the next meeting and
I know,
add everything to the plan.
I know for other plans too, we send people back to do that second test pit when it was missed. I don't wanna, unnecessarily burden anybody with anything. But if, I think the intent is to be able to show that that area is acceptable for that, even though these are large envelopes and potentially might have it somewhere further in the lot. And I always get stuck on, not stuck, but in our regs, I always kind of look at it as a shall, should, in section 18, it's a shall for the two test pits. 18.2.
I think what that really does too is allows some flexibility on the location of the septic in the long run.
Yeah, and there's definitely, that one on say with the barn, obviously you can move, there's enough area to move around pretty well. Because you're within the, you can go to the 20 feet on that one.
Are the test pits necessary in the lot that's already got the house and septic system in it?
By rule, it
Yeah,
is.
technically, if it's part of the subdivision, it does.
I just missed the two test pit thing.
You actually have to make sure you're not creating
I guess I don't think I've seen us
a.
give a waiver for that on a single subdivision since I've been.
We haven't, so it sounds like we'd like to see that second test pit for each one, just to make sure that those 4K areas are there. And then obviously we would need to see the contiguous area that to show that you actually have the lot envelopes, and then obviously just some cleanup of the scale and then some of the items that we pointed out. I think that was
And the driveway.
in the driveway. Yep.
Driveway, yeah. Did I write down?
Oh, yeah,
Driveway.
and at sheets 2 and 3, you have the incorrect map number for the.
Got it, yeah. I'm marking the heck out of this plan.
And there's a legend. Missed the whole thing.
Kevin's taking good notes too, so if you forget something.
As I say, and we do have some certain plan requirements on what notes or references have to be listed, and I think you've captured some of them, residential agricultural district. Normally we'll have, there's some language about what the dimensional requirements are in that district.
Yep, I got that.
Okay.
Ian pointed that out.
Okay. So, is there any further discussion from the, at this point, I think, especially with the contiguous area, needing some clarification, I think at this point, a continuation would be more appropriate. And then, those are all pretty minor. I think, I don't want to tie your hands as to timeline, but,
As soon as we can come back.
okay.
So November 10th.
So normally we would require deliverables within 7 days prior to that meeting, so that brings it to
You got it.
November.
So you think you can get that done by next week?
As long as we can get the test bits, we can, yeah.
And I don't think Kevin, you know what on the agenda for cases coming up, so we've got the continued case that we continue tonight.
And then we have,
This is possible subdivision,
yeah. And then we
Possible
have
conceptual.
and design review. Design review is basically a beefed up
but
conceptual.
it's filling up fast, so, but I think,
I think this
we
one
can
should,
handle it, yeah.
I think with the additional information, it should be pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and fast.
Yeah.
it's November 10th.
I'll make a motion if you like.
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion to continue case number 21-013-SUB to the November 10th meeting at 7 PM, ideally with deliverables back to the town around November 3rd.
Second?
The motion by Mr. McKinnon, second by Ms. Mooney. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so moved. Thank you. Just for anybody that's here for this case, so when cases are continued, there's no new notification that goes out. You don't get re-noticed by mail. So you just have to kind of follow the agenda online. You just won't get anything else by mail again.
That's us, we can know.
That?
We go?
Are you here?
Oh, yeah, I think you're the next case.
Oh, okay.
All right, the next case on the agenda is case 21-014-SIT, application from Puro Clean of Stratford County requesting a site plan approval for a change of use permit. Puro Clean to use as an office space as an office, vehicle storage, equipment storage, green cleaning product storage, property located at 404 Stage Road, Nottingham, New Hampshire, identified as map 16, lot 3. And just out of abundance of ethics and everything, I'm going to recuse myself from the case, and I'll pass the chair tonight over to Ms. Mooney.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Tyson Mostrom.
Okay, I have to open.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. Put my glasses on. We will now entertain case number 21-014-SIT, an application from Puro Clean of Stratford County requesting site plan approval for a change of use to permit Puro Clean to use space as an office, vehicle storage, equipment storage, and green cleaning product storage. This property is located at 404 Stage Road, Route 152, in Nottingham, New Hampshire, and is identified as map 16, lot 3. So if you would identify yourselves and then make your presentation.
I'm Tyson Mostrom, owner of Puro Clean, looking to purchase this property.
I'm Cheyenne Bostrom, his wife and real estate agent.
Thank you.
So we're just looking to purchase this property, and in her doing a due diligence as a real estate agent, found that it was listed as residential and not commercial. So we were hoping to get that changed. It's been tax assessed as a commercial building since the late 80s. So we're hoping to get that changed for the bank and for us as well before we move forward with the purchase of the property.
Yeah, it's currently being used for manufacturing docking equipment. We're not manufacturing anything. So if anything, I feel like our business is a lot less industrial as far as impact. We don't have any customers coming to the property at all. It's just the employees parking, and we're not changing the site plan whatsoever. We're leaving everything as is, and just obviously improving the condition of the property, but not adding anything or changing anything or.
Now you have provided us with this map of the property. Could you walk us through this, since we haven't seen it?
Thank you.
We did send them some pictures, hopefully to help.
Yes, we saw
help.
those.
Yeah, I saw that.
Thank you.
That was helpful.
As you're coming in, the entrance where the existing gravel public parking is, that's basically the front of the building where you see blue and two-tone windows where the office windows are as well there. And then it loops back around to the other side where you can come out the second set of doors. It's kind of, you can drive through and pull right out through there and loop back around out through the front. The apartment that you see is up on the top of the back building, and then there is another building in the back lot there in the blue. I'm not sure, like, what do you guys have for specific questions as far as everything's set up now, or just helping to describe what everything looks like?
I had a question on the apartment. Is that an existing apartment, or is that an office, or?
So it was originally an apartment, they had a fire, it was then changed to office space. It's a non-permanent apartment, so there will not be anybody living there when we take ownership. Our intent is to potentially come back and get it permitted, or just keep it as office space. So, but that's not, for our purposes, a make or break for the purchase of the property.
Gotcha.
But we will not be using it unless it is permitted, so.
Would staff like to review this for us, please?
Sure. As I said, it's currently a non-conforming use in the residential zone. It's a commercial use, commercial industrial use in the residential zone. This would essentially, the request is for a change of use because it's going from one type of commercial to another type of commercial, right? So it's not creating, in my opinion, it's not making worse a non-conformance.
It's not being more non-conforming.
Right, precisely. I don't think it's becoming more non-conforming, as a matter of fact, it's what they now, it's moving in a better direction. So I think it's consistent with how it's been historically used. With regards, so that's the request of the applicant, is a change of use from one type of commercial to another type of commercial. As mentioned, there is an area above the shop area, the first floor shop area, that is being used as a residential apartment. It's not permitted as that, but it is permitted to be a commercial office space. Explain to you how they intend to use it. They have made a request a waiver request for all subsections of 8.3 and 8.4. The original plan submission was an undated, effectively hand-drawn plan. In the interest of what they're requesting, I think the board could consider this to be sufficient. If you recall, the gentleman from last meeting was in the woodworking shop, and didn't have anything at all. So this is a slight step like that. And then this certainly helps too. The one thing that I might ask is, does this plan differentiate from what's currently there now? You guys can answer that in a second, but I'll just put it out there. Because this is from 96. So that's the waiver request. And then there are some other questions that I add in the end. I think at this point in the conversation, the board has to decide if the submission is before them, is complete.
Then we'll dive in, yeah.
What's that?
Then we'll dive into those couple questions again.
Precisely,
Details, yeah.
I would suggest considering those questions before talking about waivers. And you might want to consider the plans that have been put before you when you consider completeness. I do think that it's a complete application, that we can accept it. It's on that edge, so I'll listen to what the board has to say. If they want anything more from me, any further explanation. But we've asked them to, their original submission didn't include any waiver request. We asked them for it, they submitted it. They submitted a letter stating that they're making requests, so that was good. They had the hand-drawn plan that was asked, and they provided that. We asked for the pictures, they provided that. So they've shown a willingness to meet what we've asked. I believe we're there, but that's for you all to see fit.
Are there any comments from the board or questions?
Do we need to?
In regards
accept the
to
application?
to discuss completeness, or?
To discuss completeness.
All right. So move to accept the application for case 21-014-SIT.
Is there a second? Ian, seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstaining? Thank you.
Right, so if it's before you, I'll just run through some of the other details. So generally speaking, as I said, existing commercial industrial site, it's changed to a different type of one. It does seem to be less non-conforming. The business handles water, fire, and mold damage in residential and commercial buildings. They stated they have 7 employees, 4 vehicles in service that would be stored there. Business hours standard 8 to 5. You may want to clarify if weekends as well, just so you know. In addition to storing vehicles, they'll store equipment and cleaning supplies. They do state looking to keep a commercial sized dumpster on the site. I guess smaller jobs, they might bring it back to the site rather than have a dumpster on the location of where they're doing the work. And that gets cleaned out once a week, but effectively you can just assume it's always going to be there. Yeah, so that's pretty much on site. And then as they've stated, and all indications are that they have no intention of changing anything related to the exterior area of the site. Perhaps some cleanup, general, moving things around, but for the most part, it is all going to stay the same, according to the application. I did ask for some clarification, any new external lighting, and how that may have the impact outside of, going beyond their property. Do they propose to alter the existing site? They stated no, but I didn't know that until
Sorry.
you guys got here. So, and then we've also touched upon how we're going to use that space above the shop. And I raised the issue about sufficient septic, depending upon what their answer is. And then I talked about the waiver requests. They should be considered, that might want to be considered after those questions, so you know what you need on the plan, and if you have it, to it. Because they are asking for the full vote of the 2020.
So I do have a question. Are you proposing to put new lighting on the site?
Inside, yes. I haven't been there at nighttime yet.
It's in the buildings, but not outside?
Yeah, I haven't been there at nighttime yet, because like I said, we're just in the process of purchasing the property. And I haven't seen what there is for lighting outside there.
However, any lighting we would put on, we're not putting big spotlights or anything like that,
just
and
a
we're
motion
not
light.
there late. I mean, obviously it gets dark at 4 right now, but it wouldn't be something that's on all night or anything
Particularly
like that.
where it's in a residential area.
Yep.
In there, we do have zoning ordinances on lighting and dark skies issues, down lighting, and not so bright that it scares everybody in the area. And so you can also go to the Conservation Commission webpage, and they have best practices for outdoor lighting that's neighbor friendly.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Well, we'd like
We're
to
happy to
stay in
follow all
good
that.
graces with you
Yep.
guys. I mean, that's why we're going through this initially before even purchasing the property, so we're doing it by the right way for you
Yeah,
guys.
thank you, thank you.
Any considerations for signage out on the road? What are your thoughts on that?
We were just, there is a sign there, but we were obviously gonna see what we're allowed to, like, obviously not a lit sign or something, but just a small sign on the side of the road, just to give us some of the traffic that goes by it, maybe see our names and not call the green team, maybe give us a try first, so,
There are regs on that too.
yeah, but we figured it out. One step at a time.
So you want to clarify, you hadn't stated the hours are going to be 8 to 5, is that Monday through Friday, or maybe weekend?
Usually Monday through Friday, we do occasionally work on the weekends.
And again, that would just be employees coming in, taking the equipment and leaving, not somebody actually making noise or being on the property and loud, that kind of thing. Which actually would never happen, that they'd be on the property and loud.
Do you know the status of the existing septic system?
As far as like functionality or like what it consists of?
Yeah, functionality and just.
We did a septic inspection on it and everything was satisfactory and in good working order. And I'm happy to send that over as well for you guys.
I just bring this up with regards to, future endeavors with regards to the apartment.
Mhm.
Make sure it's sufficient if you pursue that.
Yep.
But, for commercial purposes, I'm sure that's how it was installed, what was everything installed, so it's been passing.
What sorts of chemicals would you be using for mold remediation?
We use a couple different products. Sporacine is one of the ones we use, and then Benefect. Both are green, which means they use plants as a main ingredient, but like thyme is a toxic plant to people, but it is a green product. So that stuff is not disposed of. It's expensive, so it's applied on rags and used on site. So that is, nothing is going to be disposed of other than on site at a job site with it.
Very good.
So you mentioned 7 employees, you employ 7 people, so.
Yes.
And 4 vehicles, is that what you mentioned?
Yes.
So I'm just curious, so are there some employees that are there, in the office?
Yes.
Or-
I have an office manager right now and a sales rep / other project manager who drives his own vehicle and in and out. Hopefully I'll be able to get him a vehicle as well soon, but he drives his personal vehicle as of right now.
So the work vehicles are the 4 vehicles?
Yes.
you're talking about?
Yeah.
So they're the ones really
Yeah.
in and out mostly?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is it your intention to keep the kind of the tree buffer that's around the property?
Yes, I like that set back a little bit. I mean, along the road, I think pulling out of there a couple times, like I'd like to trim some of the brush back just so we can see a little bit better coming out of that driveway, especially because it's right off of Route 4 when that
Especially
little,
people zipping down that
that little
hill.
turn
Very
there.
fast,
So that'd be the only area I'd want to like clean up a little. There's just like some low growing.
The state will make you do that when you get your driveway permit.
Okay. Yeah. I don't want my guys
driveways.
getting, the trucks make me money. I don't need them to get totaled pulling out, so.
For the board's edification, is this representative of the existing conditions as of now? Is there any changes that you can see that have been made since this one?
It looks,
There's some trees grew in as well. I'm just-
Right.
no, it
Yeah,
looks,
no.
it's pretty accurate to me. That's one
The
of
fence is still up there and,
Yeah, it looks like from the photos.
So the request for a waiver, you have both the handheld and this.
and pictures.
Yeah, I think you had a good point too. I mean, from what we had from the previous change of use, it takes a pretty significant change of use, I think, to, especially when you're staying within the walls, so.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And once we know what the use is and like the traffic volume,
Yeah.
if those things aren't really changing or if they're decreasing from existing uses, then.
Right. Luckily, DOT are the ones that are gonna care about traffic, and it sounds like it's not gonna be much of it.
Yeah.
I think do we wanna tackle the waivers?
Waiver.
I wonder if we should entertain whether this is going to be an application of regional
Oh, thank you.
impact.
point.
So I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that case number 21-014-SIT is not a regional impact.
Second,
I will second that.
Ian? All those in favor? Say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All those abstain? Unanimous. Are we ready to entertain a motion on the waiver?
Do we need to,
Or do we need to entertain people from the,
I was thinking, should we
Audience
do that
first.
first? Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Forgot about that part.
I will now open the case to the public. If anybody cares to make a comment, or add something, or ask questions? Those who are in favor of the application have the first invitation. Following, those who are against the application, and then following that, anybody who would like to make a comment or ask a question. The floor is yours.
We're good.
You're good? All set then?
Yeah.
I will close the entertainment for the audience. And now we can consider the waiver request.
I think from a discussion perspective, I think it makes sense. I think this is more than what we've seen in the past for some change of use plans, and the fact that we're not changing the building. You know, they mentioned cleaning up the property. I mean, cleaning up gravel surfaces, cleaning up brush. I mean, that's pretty standard property maintenance, so I don't think that involves, I think everybody's in favor of trimming back trees on 152 at most of those driveways. It's a little sketchy sometimes seeing the bumpers stick out into 152. I think what we have in front of us is sufficient for what they're proposing. You know, as you stated, if you pursue something in the future for the apartment, this might still be enough,
Yep.
but we'll handle that when that comes forward. But I think it warrants the waiver request from 8.3 and 8.4. I'll make a motion unless somebody has any other comments.
No?
Just agree.
Okay.
Yeah, we just want to, I wonder if for the minutes, we would just want to reference the plan number that
That's a gap.
has been submitted,
That's a good point.
the existing plan.
Yeah, is there somewhere in the notes, Kevin, that like we can just make reference that the plan, so the plan they submitted does have a plan reference? So is there a way to, does this stay on file or
That's actually,
get referenced and?
correct me if I'm.
I took a picture of it from here. Yeah.
So we might just want to make reference in the notes that they did provide a registry plan, and the plan number's right on the bottom there, so. I'm always a fan of recorded stuff.
Yeah.
So with that, let's see if I can find my stuff. I'll make a motion to approve the waiver request, to waive the, all requirements of, sections 8.3 and 8.4 of the site plan review regulations for case number 21-014-SIT.
I'll second.
The motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Those abstain. The motion carries unanimously.
All right.
Waiver's been granted.
So Blair, was that everything on your list? I think.
Yeah, it was, just looking over that, nice, yeah, we kind of covered everything, external lighting, any alterations to the site, and then the office space.
Yep.
And the septic.
And, yeah, and the sub-question of septic, is gonna be residential, it's not,
Mhm.
it's,
Do you think police and fire are satisfied that what's there is adequate?
with regards to,
Just changing use?
my I don't know.
I think it goes back to your less non-conforming kind of thing. Like it's
Right. I would lean on that. You know, the application is there for staff to comment on, and we haven't heard anything. So if the building has, you know, met its code at the time of its original approval, then you have to kind of carry that forward.
Yep.
If they decide to change the use of the upstairs, then those questions will have to be addressed.
I see.
Between
Yep.
fire suppression, septic, building code, things like that.
Yep.
So, but I think for what they're proposing now, their change of use from one commercial to another, and the fact that
Just
the town-
moves over, yeah.
yeah, the town staff has an opportunity to speak on it, on any application. I would say that we can move forward confidently.
think my only last comment was, I think, you wrote 8 to 5, but I just happened to look at your letter and you mentioned 7:30 to 5.
That's because I wrote it.
Okay. I just want to make sure what.
I'm separate from
I didn't proofread it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it, I guess I just want to make sure if it was 7:30, the earlier time, I just want to make sure that was captured, but if it's not, that's fine. I don't think I have anything else.
Any other comments or questions, concerns?
To make a motion,
Yes, that would be nice.
Mr. Chairman. I'd like to move to approve case 21-0114-SIT for site plan approval.
I'll second that.
Ian, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstain. Motion has passed unanimously. Congratulations.
Thank you guys so much.
Good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Once every 5 years.
Madam Chairwoman.
Keep the chair down, or?
No.
That's bad.
That was
I
even
think Sue's
better.
got a new job.
Madam Chairman.
All right. I'm regaining my seat at the table, and I'll, if Ms. Mooney doesn't object, I will take chair duties back over.
Oh, please do. Thank you.
Argue this for the sake.
So we're through the public hearing part of the case, the agenda tonight. The next on our item is always public comment. This is the time of night we always reserve for people to come in and be able to speak to us about our processes and anything else. If it's case specific, we can't necessarily answer you, but it's a good time to come in and learn more about the planning board. There's nobody here from the public tonight, so we'll move on to select board and staff board member updates. We do not have select board representation tonight, so I'll go to staff first, and I'll go to Kevin if he has anything, and then I'll come over to Blair, and then we'll go around the table. I think you,
Oh, could start me?
yeah,
I don't really have anything, but we do have a Mylar that we'd like you to sign by the end of the meeting.
yes, thank you.
Okay.
I do, if you just give me 1 second, I want to find it. This was brought to our attention by this application. The subdivision regs have a checklist and a form for waiver requests. The site plan review regulations actually do not.
They don't, right?
What's that?
Right, I've noticed that. They always, people use the subdivision one. Yeah.
Exactly. So changing that is not hard, right? We can handle that. What I don't know, my question to you is, what's the process for changing these things, the regs? Is this a town meeting thing, or is it
No.
something?
No,
Not for some-
No, we just-
zoning has to have public hearings, everything else, subdivision regs and site plan, I believe, are the purview of the board. We just have to,
Kind of like the
I
conditional use
believe we have to
permit that we
notice it,
did.
and we have to have,
Yeah.
we hold a public hearing, and then we can,
We make
Amend
up
it.
our own forms.
Okay.
yeah.
So maybe between Kevin and I, we might bang our heads together and come up with something.
That'd be,
That would be what we
it'd be
want.
helpful. Anytime we can get like an easy checklist for applicants to see, and they can see it, and then we can just go, yep, and
It'll be largely identical to the subdivision one.
And that was the intent when we redid the site plan regulations a few years ago, was to make them more conform to the subdivision regs. So like in format and everything else, you'll see a lot of the language was pulled over and brought into it and everything else. So the subdivision regs and site plan are in some ways very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like we just have to update some of the references, right? And it should carry forward.
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, he and I should just really go through the fine tooth comb, because we've just like talked about it at a very high level, but haven't really looked at it. There's no, I want to find the process first, and then, so now that I know that answer, he and I can start doing that administrative work and then bring it before you. It'll not happen in the next month or so, because we just have
2 months.
doing zoning amendments, caseload right now, and only one meeting a month, but we will do it. I do have a request, this went to, Dirt. I'm glad I caught it, because I think we need a vote.
Is it the letter from SRPC about supporting the DES grant?
Yeah.
I didn't bring that up, but
You were gonna bring that up?
it's fine, either way,
Please do.
I've got the letter.
Wrap my head around it.
sample letter.
So DES was reviewing town and city zoning bylaws for water protection regulations, water protection districts, aquifers, wellhead protection, stratification. And then what they did was they went through those and looked at them to see if the wording was correct, the wording was accurate, if it met the intention of trying to protect these resources. Nottingham was flagged for a couple of minor things. It was nothing terribly big, but some things that we could improve upon. So the idea is that SRPC would pursue a grant application to do the work for you all in conjunction with Dover and Rollinsford. So if we were looking for I think I'd asked Jen if I needed a vote, and she really wasn't sure. So if you want to take a vote, that'd be great, and we could just say the board voted, but essentially signing a letter of support for the application, and it would bring the grant to the town. It's a combined grant with the other two communities for us to do that work and to tighten up that language, meaning what some of the state regs are and that sort of thing, and what they've applied as best practices. So,
And I think the key points of that, it's not tying the town's hands to matching funds. There was no matching fund requirement from the town. So this would be something, us supporting for SRPC to apply for a grant so that they could work on.
Basically a letter of authorization to say, yeah, we do want it.
Yeah, and then, to my knowledge, there'd be no tie to it as well, so that, we, obviously with zoning ordinance or anything else, we could vote to move forward with a revision of the thing. It would go to the town for a vote. It would, or we could vote it, stop it at this level if we decide we didn't want the change after the verbiage was through. So it doesn't sound like there's any ties there that would bind us to, having to take action based on, just by supporting the grant.
yeah, it's a good point. You're not voting on language at this point or any commitment to action, other than saying, yes, we would love to have this grant, we would love to have this opportunity, have the technical examination and the language brought back to you. That's all the commitment is for, to accept the grant essentially.
And I can read, so we had so they provided they being SRPC, provided also like a draft letter to help us kind of understand what kind of verbiage might be helpful in the grant process, keeping it short. It's basically saying, it would be saying that the town, planning board, or other boards, if the other boards decide to chime in, endorse Stratford Regional Planning's application to New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services Local Source Water Protection Grant Program. The town recognizes the importance of up-to-date and accurate groundwater and drinking water protections, and we strongly support SRPC's proposal to make minor to moderate amendments to our Aquifer Protection District zoning ordinance. These updates will help us to ensure municipal regulations accurately reference groundwater and drinking water resource locations, as well as applicable state and federal laws, and the procedures and criteria for allowing uses within drinking water resource locations sufficiently protect drinking water resources. Updates to source references will ensure that the ordinances are both enforceable and will ensure the best science is applied to source water protection. And then we'd add some language about how we've worked with SRPC. And then it says, and this again, this is just a sample letter. It's not necessarily the letter that would go out. But in the event this proposal is funded, we commit to invite SRPC staff to meet with the planning board up to 2 times to review and discuss the proposed amendments, invite SRPC staff to present the proposed amendments at a public hearing, and work with SRPC staff to disseminate educational materials to residents about the proposed amendments.
That is the letter that we're asking you to sign.
Yeah, so that's a draft letter. It can be changed a bit, obviously. We can change it all, but that's for
The entire board
grant
sign, or do
purposes.
we
No, normally it would
authorize,
go
like,
from
the
the board chair.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just to couple of quick notes. The application, we just got notified on this, the application is due on November 1st, so it's due Monday. They just brought this to our attention. But the contract would not even be in place until early next summer.
Yeah.
So between their review, their allocation of funds, and then finally getting a contract with us and the other RPCs, or whoever else, other communities that might apply for this grant. You know, she said May, but Jen said realistically June or July. So this isn't something that's happening tomorrow, although the deadline for the application is.
But that's good timing though, if we get onto next year's cycle of
Yes.
amendments and
Really
stuff.
good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that could actually tee that up from around this time, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's one of the things she asked me to do. So how do you want to proceed with that? But I don't have anything else for this portion of the board meeting.
Is there,
Do you want to
Open.
entertain a motion, or do you want to just do a?
see if anybody had any additional comment or question, or we can
It's a
do a
no-brainer.
motion?
To me, I think if we're going to do this, then just authorize Ed to be able to sign it as co-chair and
Just to get it
give
done.
it to Blair.
Well,
There's a deadline, right?
there's some revision that has to be done.
Oh, all right.
So I'd have to tweak it, but Dirk and or Ed, how about that? If that way, one of us can make sure, get it signed, get it drafted and signed.
Either the
by
chair or
tomorrow.
vice chair.
Yep. So is anybody want-
I was gonna suggest that we put it in Dirk's lap as punishment for not being here tonight.
Yeah, but Tempest Fugit, it's due.
I think you can sign stuff electronically
You
too,
can,
so
yeah. Or-
send them a PDF.
So does anybody want to make a motion to support us sending a letter to SRPC regarding this grant proposal?
I'll make a motion that we send a letter to SRPC to support this and provide authorization to either the chair or co-chair to sign it on our behalf.
Second.
No,
Second to your second.
You're up.
Who's second? Oh,
Yeah, Gary got that.
Gary got it, okay. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? I'll just like to add that it is definitely, from my experience with the town's intent to support our groundwater resources. I think that's been driven home very strongly by the town's actions and the citizens' actions and the language in our ordinances. So this has my support. So all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right, so I'll make sure, Blair, I'll follow up with Dirk and make sure that one of us tweaks this a little bit and gets that signed and over by end of the day tomorrow.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Good.
Send it to, you
Jen.
copy me, if you could send it to Jen.
Yeah. Yep.
Just gotta spit it in this. Thank you.
All right, so I'll go this way tonight. So, Ms. Anderson, do you have
I
anything?
got nothing.
Mr. McKinnon?
I was unable to make the zoning board joint meeting. I guess I always ask the question, is there any updates on,
You have homework to do, yeah. You had some, did we put a
Height.
pin on you about
what's the
that?
stuff about the building height?
Yeah. I think the consensus was to calculate it based on average.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's the best, yeah. I think that's the best.
I think
way
the
to do it.
zoning board agreed.
Yeah, I think our discussion on that was that we were gonna try to pull the towns that were referenced and then
Yes.
maybe incorporate, if there was a chart, we could incorporate grate or diagrams and then just get it kind of back to hopefully the fire chief and the code enforcer, just so that they can come together and make sure that it meets what they want to see and move forward with that one.
I can probably carve time to even put together 2 different options of wording or something like that based on some of the diagrams / with obviously word it too, so. Yeah,
Sure.
So, yeah, I have those 2 different ordinances I've used.
If you have that, and you want to send it to Dirk and just in there say, request that he sends it on to, or Dirk and Kevin, that way they can get it
Yeah.
to
Sure.
Dale and Chief Philchuk.
Yep, I can do that. And the only other thing I had a question on, there's actually a random thing I came across. It had to do with the test pits today, because I was looking that up. So there's the two spaces that the test pits are referenced. There's the requirement under 8.4, specific plan information, where under that reference to the test pits, 2 test pits 50 feet apart, at the end of that, it says all test pits must be witnessed by the code administrator.
Yeah.
But there is no reference to that under section 18. Have we ever required? I don't think that's a,
That's
there are towns that do it, or they like Rockingham uses it, but.
I think that our code administrator kind of leaves that open, because.
You also have somebody that's
sometimes he does,
qualified
and
to,
sometimes he doesn't.
yeah, sometimes you have to make,
Yeah,
It-
you know, it's all ringing a bell that we've had this discussion before several years ago.
it was just one of those things where,
We had it during that other case where it was one test pit that was done, and it was, I remember asking something about that with the code enforcer, and I believe it was kind of said that basically they're made aware of it and they have the option to go and.
okay. Yeah, I didn't know if we actually require, because I know there are some municipalities that actually require a witness by a third party, and then the code administrator sometimes doesn't have the expertise sometimes to witness. I just saw that, I never noticed, but it's only mentioned in 8.4, not in 18, Article 18, where they dive in a little bit more into requirements. But
Dale requests that, and most of the designers do just notify him and give him the option to come out.
Right, okay. Yeah, I just noticed that. I've never, didn't know if we actually required them to witness that. Other than that, I'm good.
My turn?
Yep.
The commission's starting to monitor conservation easements that the town has conservation easement deeds for. And we are scheduled to do our first walk this coming this coming Saturday at the Mendham's Pond property that lies in Nottingham. And we'll go on from there. I think we've got 5 properties in town that are owned, the easement is owned by the town, so the commission does that monitoring. Good excuse to walk in the woods.
The only thing I had was, we have plans to sign, we had them last meeting, but we appended them for tonight, and then that letter from SRPC. And that's all I have. It looks like we've got a lot of cases on our agenda for next week. It's on one meeting in November at this point, unless we decide to do another, and there's on one in December, so we'll want to be mindful of making sure we get draft language and things ready for zoning, and that those don't get pushed off too much as we get through the holidays. Mr. Anderson.
I just have 2 things. So I attended the first CIP meeting a week ago. And so it was just kind of going over the current plan and looking at, we kind of got informed of what some of the things that we may be looking at moving forward. And so basically it goes 6 years beyond the current year, so we'll be needing to fill in 2027, and plus update any of the items before then. So that's pretty much all we did. But I do also have some sheets that are just worksheets for capital improvement, and I can pass these around if anybody had something to put in that I could bring to the next meeting would be helpful. I'll just leave them out here somewhere.
I'll take a look at that.
And the other item was SRPC. I know Charlene had communicated as well with Autumn about quality of life, mainly for our elderly. There's been a study that's been put together, but we were also kind of asked the input. And my input had to do with the fact that, some of the information mentioned local employment, and so I just I mentioned the fact that we had a zoning change not too long ago, and there seems to be some business coming in and possible employment. So I have to get back to Autumn about, she wants some more details, but that was pretty much it.
Thank you. Mr. Davies.
All set for tonight.
Mr. Chance. Blair, do you know, with SRPC, with the state DOT, like, 10-year plans and the roads and such, this is outside of Nottingham, but I know enough residents use 202 going into Rochester and beyond. The intersection with Estes Road that continues to have like a bunch of fatal accidents and severe accidents. Any idea, I don't know if you ever hear of like where that is on the state's plan of addressing? I know we have 152, which I think just had another accident, in 4 last week. I think it was a motorcycle accident.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay.
But I have this running list of to-do items from when I leave this meeting.
Yeah, that's fine. It's outside of our community anyway, but it's just curious.
I can add that and update you at the next meeting.
Yeah, that's okay. I was just curious. I know this intersection on 152 and 4 always comes up, and then, but that one's,
What was the other one? The one that you asked?
the one that comes up all the time is, on 202, as you get into Rochester, with Estes Road. It's that crossing, it's got a yellow light, but there's.
It's a crossing
I think
on
there
the
was a-
corner.
Yeah, I think there's a couple fails this year there, and a lot of severe accidents.
Is that where the road splits?
They took a
like
house
that?
down a few years ago.
No, it's after the road splits. But it's on a fairly sharp corner, so that one side, you can see the people waiting to go out, the other side, you don't see them until you're right there on the corner.
And it's a 45, so it means 50, 55-ish, yeah. Okay. That's it. Approval of minutes, I know we had some minutes, I don't know what the dates were on here, so I'd move that we kind of push those tonight, unless anybody feels strongly.
Do we know what the dates are?
9/22 and then 10/13.
I'm fine with making a motion.
I think I've seen those bouncing around for a little bit, right?
Yeah,
That's fine too?
9/22, and
10/13.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from 9/22 and October 13th as amended.
A second?
That's a motion by Ms. Anderson and a second by Ms. Mooney. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Carries 6-0. And that's it for our business tonight. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Great, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Don't forget to sign the plans before you leave.